everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. First off, I want to apologize if my voice sounds off or if I sound off at all. As you know, I just got back from RetroCon this past weekend, and I think I caught something while I was there. I'm feeling a little, little coldy, little flu-y, so my voice may not be what it usually is. But now that that is out of the way, welcome back to RETROTEMBER, and today we are taking a look at a figure that has been around for a while, but it's new to me, and it's one of my favorites. It's one of the most anticipated ones for like years, decades. I've been anticipating this one. And of course, we are talking about the Masterverse, Masters of the Universe movie, Evil Lyn. This has always been my favorite representation of Evil Lyn. To tell you the truth, in the toy line, in the cartoons, in the comics, I never really thought much of Evil Lyn until I saw the movie and I saw Meg Foster bring her to life. Like, this was such a fantastic representation of Evil Lyn. She was deadly, she was strong, she was authoritative, You kind of had that feeling that she was able to manipulate Skeletor behind the scenes, and then, like, when things were going bad, she was just like, I'm out. I love this representation of Evil Lyn. I love this look for Evil Lyn. And when I was a kid, there was nothing I wanted more than this figure in the toy line, whether I got any of the movie figures or not. Now that Mattel is bringing out the movie figures, and I've had all of them, so now I have He-Man, Skeletor, Evil Lyn, and I have Beastman that we're going to do a video of later this month. Just a little bit of a forewarning though, whenever we do size comparisons and we put her with movie Skeletor, I can't put her with movie He-Man because when mine came out of the packaging, the arm was a little stiff and I ended up snapping the arm. The joints broke. So I was really bummed about that. However, Big Bad has a reissue of the 1987 movie He-Man that I have ordered, so we might be taking a look at him later, if not this month, then later towards the end of the year. Now back to Our Lady here. Like, this whole look was fantastic. I loved it so much, I even did a Mega Constructs version of her just because I wanted her in my collection somehow. Now, looking at the packaging, we have the new Masterverse packaging, which is just fantastic. If Hasbro did something like this with their window packaging, I've said many times that I really miss the artwork for the classified line, but this, I think, is a fantastic compromise where you have the window right here. You don't get to see all the figure, but you get to see the part that you care about the most. But then there's this beautiful artwork right here. And look at this. This is what I mean. Like, she's leading the armies of Skeletor. You can see all of the henchmen in back. Beastman, people on the gliders. She's carrying the cosmic key. Like, this is a fantastic representation of Evil Lyn. Masters of the Universe at the bottom, her name over here. The artwork carries along to the side. You can see Skeletor on his flying throne thing, hovercraft right there. Over here, great artwork of her full body shot. On the back, we have a look at the figure, and I have to say that this must have been an older version of the figure because that face sculpt is not nearly as good as what's actually on the figure. Down here we have Evil Lyn. After obtaining the cosmic key from Gwildor, Evil Lyn realized too late that he had a second. She led Skeletor's forces to Earth to capture the second key and prove her worth. She didn't have to prove her worth was already known. And then, of course, we have the rest of the figures that were part of this wave. All of these have been out already. Like I said, I know this is an older figure, but I was just so excited to finally get her. I wanted to do a video on this. So, without further ado, let's open this box up and let's take a look at the Masters of the Universe Masterverse movie, Evil Lyn by Mattel. And if you want one of your own, you can get her at Entertainment Earth. Entertainment Earth is your one-stop shop for all toys, clothing, collectibles, and more. Get the newest from Hasbro, Mattel, Bandai, and Super 7, as well as exclusives that can't be found anywhere else. With over 25 years in the business, Entertainment Earth has what you want. Click the link in the description below. And here she is, Evil Lyn, out of the box, and putting the tape measure to her, we can see that she is approximately 6 5/8 to the top of her head. First of all, while the He-Man likeness on that figure was just horrendous, as a matter of fact, I'm hoping with the reissue, they might be redoing the head sculpt. I'm not holding my breath on that, but it would be nice. The Skeletor one was spot on, and I have to say that I think this face sculpt for Meg Foster, the likeness on here, is pretty good. It's pretty fantastic, actually. I love how they got those stark blue eyes of hers. Like, that's what really made her stand out. They even referenced these eyes in the movie, that when the Earthling, I can't remember his name, he was so uninspiring to me, but when the Earthling was describing Evil Lyn, he just described the eyes, and Man-at-Arms and Teela immediately knew who he was talking about when he mentioned these eyes. So that was a very important part of getting the face sculpt right and the paint apps, and I think it looks fantastic. I love that they're both looking forward. The paint job is really well done on here. As a matter of fact, the paint apps for the face portrait in general are pretty good. With the dark red lipstick, you got a little bit of rootiness on the cheeks to make them stand out. The headdress, the intricacy of the headdress, the sculpt, the hair underneath, the jewelry up front, all of this is fantastic. When I was looking at this figure, I didn't realize until today, like, I never noticed in the movie that there are snakes on her armor. There's cobra heads here on her gauntlets, and there's snakes on her shoulder pads. And that's really cool. They reference Snake Mountain in the movie, but you never actually see Snake Mountain in the movie. But I think it's really cool that they have this little nod to Snake Mountain on her armor, which makes me wonder, I need to go back and look at Skeletor and see if I missed anything on that as well. But I also like the detail work on here, the painting of the chain that's holding this piece on up front, the painting of the chain that comes up from her breastplate underneath the cape, all of the layers of this collar that she's wearing right here. All of this looks fantastic. They even went so far as to put these chain links on this shoulder piece, because this is a separate piece. I'll show you in a moment. The chain links on this shoulder piece to line up with the chain coming up from her breastplate to make it look like one piece, which is fantastic. Also, there is the detail work on her bodysuit with like the paisleys right here. I don't know how well it's showing up, the light's reflecting off of it, but like the paisleys right there on her arms, across the chest plate, because you can get a better look. If we just pop this off, this whole section comes off. Put her head back on, and you can get a better look at the design work. Nothing on the back, here on the arms, across the chest, down the legs, nothing on the side, nothing on the back. But I really like this detail work that they did. A little bit of smudging on the shoulders, but I think that is from this piece right here, maybe. No, just maybe that was put there on purpose just to give it some depth. I don't know. But I really, really like this detail work they did with the paint apps. It looks crisp. It looks sharp. There's a lot of attention to detail right there. It looks symmetrical. Fantastic. Let's pop her head back off. Put the cape back on. If I have one criticism of Mattel's figures, especially the Masterverse figures, it's the cape. I wish the capes were of a heavier material. Like, this looks great. I love the way how it sort of like billows around her. Okay, it's it matches the cape that she wore, but I would like it to be a little thicker so it's not quite as see-through. And on her especially, and the Skeletor figure, like, a wire in these would be fantastic to get some posing out of the cape as well. But other than that, like, the look of this is pretty spot on. I really like the detail work they did on the boots too. Never noticed that in the movies. And they also have some line work. This is a very soft piece of rubber. This isn't cloth, but it's very soft rubber, so it will get up out of the way whenever you're trying to move the legs. But I also like how it has sort of like this pattern, glossy and matte pattern going down the skirting, and it carries up into the back of the her torso piece right here. I think it's fantastic. The color, the sculpt, the paint apps, the detail work, everything about this, I think, is just fantastic. So let's take a look at the articulation. That the head will do a full 360 spin. Little bit of tilt, not really much to talk about. She doesn't really look up. and she doesn't really look down. And I don't think it's the collar here. I just think that the neck piece comes up a little too high and it gets in its own way whenever you try and move her head. Her arms will do a full 360 spin. You can see that it does cause the cape piece to shift out of the way though. Arms will come up past 90 with no interference from that. You have a bicep swivel right there. You have a single jointed elbow that comes up just under 90, and there is a hinge and swivel at the elbow. No butterfly joint. Let's get your arms up out of the way. There's a waist joint right here, a ball joint at the waist that she can do a full 360 spin. She can crank back a little bit. She can go forward a little bit, but I think this gets in the way more than anything. And there's some side to side, but not a whole lot. Let's get this skirting piece up out of the way so we can take a look at her leg articulation. Drop down hip. The leg will come up, but this rubber gets in the way. Let's see if we can... There we go. If you get that out of the way, it's still sort of interfering. That's as far forward as it will go. That's as far back as it will go, but it can come straight out to the side right there. Let's push that back up in there and bring this back down. She has a thigh cut. Stiff knee joints. Double jointed knees. Boot cut. Ankles rock way back. Ankles rock way forward. And there is a forward facing pin for some rocker. And as you saw, this will bend and get out of the way, but it does want to come back into position and it can get in the way of your articulation. Okay, so this is a bit of an insert. I didn't notice this until I was pretty much done with the video, that I thought Evil Lyn only had one set of hands because there wasn't any more hands in the plastic tray that she was recessed into when I opened the box. She does have an extra set of hands, but they were in the bag that the cosmic key came in, and I almost threw them away because they didn't fall out of the bag when I upended it and poured the key out. They were sort of like stuck down in the bottom. You know how that can happen sometimes. So there are points in the video where I may make mention, well, I do make mention that she has these gripping style hands, and those are the only ones that she comes with. That is patently false. So I do apologize for that. I didn't go back and re-record the entire video, but just so you know, if you catch me saying something about only having one set of hands, that is not true. That she also has these open hands as well as the gripping hands that she comes with, and all of the hands swivel and hinge in and out. None of them hinge up and down. So sorry about that, but I wanted to get these in. Now, Evil Lyn only comes with one accessory, and that is the cosmic key right here. Now, if we take a look at this, and then we bring this one in, this one is Skeletor's, you can see that the mold is the same. The sculpt is the same. It's completely the same, except Skeletor's has some paint apps to it, and Evil Lyn's, for whatever reason, is in this blue, sparkly, translucent plastic. I don't know if this is supposed to represent, like, the key in action, like being activated, and it's about to open a portal, or if they just did it just to differentiate it and make it look a little bit more magical. Either way, I dig that we have a second key, because as we read on the back, there were two, the one that she stole and the one that Gwildor had. So I appreciate getting a second one. I'm just curious about why it has, it's done in translucent blue plastic. Whoops. Why it's done in translucent blue plastic right here. And I don't know how well it's showing up, but there is like glitter baked into it. So it does have a sparkle to it. And that's why I think maybe it's supposed to represent the key being active. Now, she only has this set of hands. She doesn't come with another set of hands. And they are gripping hands that look like they should be holding a staff, which she doesn't have. But you can put the strap in her hand so that she can carry it. Whoops. You can put the strap in her hand so that she can carry it like so, but that looks kind of funky. She can cradle it. You can sort of get it, you know, in her hand like so. Hold on. So that she's holding it out like that. And I'll pose it more in the photos at the end. But that's really all she has. I know she didn't have a staff in the movie, but I kind of wish they still would have given her a staff, because she always has the staff, right? And now for size comparison, here she is beside Mattel Masters of the Universe Masterverse New Eternia He-Man and Masters of the Universe movie Skeletor. I put the New Eternia He-Man in here because it's basically the same buck as the movie He-Man, so this should be roughly the same size. And here she is beside Super 7's G.I. Joe Ultimates San Diego Comic-Con 2023 exclusive Blue Bat, and the Super 7 Ultimates Conan the Barbarian the movie Valeria Spirit. Here she is beside McFarlane Toys Spawn Collection Medieval Spawn and Eridan Brioc Glass from The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt. Here she is beside NECA Toys Dungeons & Dragons Warduke and Grimsword. And finally, for a 1/12 scale comparison, here she is beside Airborne and Me from the G.I. Joe Steel Corps. 4 decades. Nearly 4 decades I've been waiting for this figure, and I have to admit, it was kind of worth the wait. I'm just glad I finally have it, to be completely honest. Even growing up, I was always like wondering why they never released this version of Evil Lyn for the Masters of the Universe line. I mean, of course, now we know that there were rights issues and they couldn't get these figures made for the vintage line. And even MOTU Origins, or I'm sorry, MOTU Classics had issue that they had to like skirt around rights holders to be able to put out the Dolph He-Man and the Frank Langella Skeletor. But now, whatever magic they had to work, Mattel seems to be set on making a movie line of figures for their Masterverse line. And I am really glad that Evil Lyn was one of the first ones that got churned out. Of course, they start with He-Man and Skeletor. Love that Evil Lyn was the next one, because if this line doesn't go the distance, at least I got one of the 2 that I'm waiting for, and the other one is Blade, and we already know we're getting him. Now on to this figure. The only true criticism I have, maybe a complaint if you will, she needs a staff. I really wish she would have had a staff. She needs something else to go along with her. She has the extra hands. She has a really good sculpt. It's a really good figure. She has that cosmic key in the translucent plastic with the glitter mixed in, giving it a different look than Skeletor's, but she needed something else. She needed something that was hers. She needed a staff. And I get that she didn't use a staff in the movie, but this is Mattel. It's their property. I think it would have been cool if they would have added things to these figures that maybe they didn't necessarily have in the movie, but if they did, this is how it would have looked. I mean, there are plenty of staffs laying around here that I'm sure I'll be able to find something to give her, but a 1987 MOTU movie version of Evil Lyn's scepter, staff, whatever you want to call it, would have been really cool to see with this figure. I think the likeness is fantastic, and for me, that was one of the things that they really had to nail. Meg Foster as Evil Lyn. That is brilliant. That was great casting. Her and Frank Langella stole the movie. Any scene those 2 were in together was so intense and so focused and like verging on Shakespearean. I'm not even saying that ironically or snarkily. Like, I loved these 2 together. I love the way they just rattled off lines. Oh, one other thing they could have given her if they didn't want to give her the staff, they could have given her like the submission collar that they put around Dude, whose name I can't remember, Tom Paris. That if they could have given her the collar to like clamp around. Things like that would have been cool to have with her. I thought the New Eternia line was really the only line from Masterverse that I was going to go in on, but I think I'm all in with this movie line. Because to be honest, like, I think I've mentioned this before, I unironically really like this movie. Like, I liked it for what it was. I know it had problems, and I'm not saying it was a masterpiece, but I really liked it just for being like this off-the-wall, bonkers, sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, and to me it was always just fun to watch. Still is. The 87 movie Beastman will be coming up next. He's sitting in the corner, patiently waiting for his time in front of the camera, and hopefully before RETROTEMBER is over, they may release the Dolph Lundgren reissue of He-Man, or like the 87 He-Man reissue. I'm hoping that will get here before the end of the month. If not, we'll take a look at it at some point, but I do want to get right now anyway, the entire line of this series, and I'm just so glad that I finally have this version of Evil Lyn. Don't touch that dial. Before you go, please remember to do all the YouTube things, like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you already are a subscriber, what a legend you are. If you like what we do here and you want to help the channel grow, please consider becoming a member, whether through YouTube memberships or our Coffee monthly subscription. Links to that in the description below. Both of them for $1 a month, you can get access to exclusive content, such as our monthly member exclusive video. This month is the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Stinger. So until next time, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.